This is the story of Dr. James F. Goodwin, Jr. We are the Esther M. Lee African American Heritage Center, providing you with these stories. During 1935, or during the 1930s, there were only a few African American professionals in Bethlehem. There was a dentist by the name of Dr. James Nelson Richardson, and there were two physicians. One was named Dr. Wilbur Strickland, and then there was Dr. James F. Goodwin. Dr. James F. Goodwin was born in Georgia, and his parents decided very early on that they would become part of the Great Migration, and they migrated to Stilton, Pennsylvania. As a result, James F. Goodwin, Jr. graduated from Stilton High School. He went on to Howard University. He always wanted to become a physician, a doctor. However, when he got to Howard University, he realized that he did not have enough money to stay there, and he had to have all sorts of part-time jobs as he worked his way through school. As a result, it took him 10 years to complete his bachelor's degree and then go on and finish his medical education. Total of 10 years. Dr. Goodwin, it was interesting to note that Dr. Goodwin was one of 6 children, 3 young men and 3 young women. And one of his, it's interesting also that one of his brothers became a minister, and while the other one became a doctor like he did. But the minister worked in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and he founded a church that is called Goodwin Memorial Baptist Church, and it still exists today. During the Depression years in Bethlehem, most of the young African Americans were not staying in jobs. They had to quit school and work so that they can help their families survive. And there was a young woman in town by the name of Olivia Clark. She and her husband, Harry, lived in a home on the 600 block of Cherokee Street. They lived next door to a family by the name of Fauntleroy. And the Fauntleroys somehow were in contact with James F. Goodwin, Jr., who wanted to live in Bethlehem and who wanted to practice his medical practice in Bethlehem. So Mr. Fauntleroy and Mrs. Fauntleroy allowed him to practice medicine out of their home in the 600 block of Cherokee Street. Dr. Goodwin became good friends with the Clarks, Harry and Olivia Clark, and their daughter, their married daughter, Audrey Clark Blue, also lived in the home. They became good friends. They decided, Mrs. Clark and Dr. Goodwin, to have a club so that the young people in Bethlehem would be encouraged, the young African Americans would be encouraged to stay in school. And this club did some of the following activities. There was a homework club, debates, lectures, sweetheart dances, plays, musicals that Mrs. Clark herself wrote. Mrs. Clark had been a graduate of Hampton Institute. She was a music major in Hampton Institute. So what happened is that these high school students became very interested in education as a result of Mrs. Clark's organization. She also invited her next door neighbor, her new next door neighbor, Dr. James F. Goodwin, to work with her with this group. And in the meantime, he became very, very famous working with the medical concerns of the black community. The black community had a great deal of tuberculosis. There was illnesses relating to hypertension among our people, and there was a high infant mortality. So Dr. Goodwin was highly needed. But unfortunately, he could not get hospital privileges here in Bethlehem. However, he was able to get hospital privileges in another city in Pennsylvania, and that was Reading. He was able to get hospital privileges out of Reading Hospital and another local Reading hospital. In the meantime, the students in Bethlehem were graduating from college. Here is a list of the places they graduated: Yale Law School, Lincoln University, Howard University, Atlanta University, the University of Michigan, Oxford University in England, Catholic University, Drake, Lehigh and Moravian colleges, and of course Hampton University, where Mrs. Clark went. In the meantime, however, when they would graduate and they came back home to Bethlehem, they could not get jobs in Bethlehem. Racism was rampant. One lady told me that she put her picture on her application to become a teacher in the Bethlehem schools. And she thinks that that was a problem, why they saw her and they never even acknowledged her application. A man by the name of Gerhard Zeller wrote an article about the young people going to college and coming home and not being able to get jobs. He titled his article, "Negro College Grads Tell of War Being Waged with Invisible Foe." And the invisible foe being the fact that they inherited, racism. They had racists. And so they had to leave Bethlehem. And people, I know many of them, they moved to places like Indianapolis, Indiana. They went to California. They went to Detroit, Michigan. They went to Henderson, North Carolina, where they found jobs that they could not find here. So that was the success of the J.F. Goodwin Scholarship Club. But in essence, it was kind of a failure of the J.F. Goodwin Scholarship Club. I can also give you a list of the names of the people who were on the board of the directors. They were Audrey Clark Blue, Mrs. Clark's daughter, William Walton, Ophelia Hatfield, Jacob White, Lillian and Sampson Taylor, Charlotte J., David J., Margaret Bowers, Geraldine Cook, R. Wakefield Roberts, and many others. Some of the presidents of the J.F. Goodwin Scholarship Club, which, by the way, still exists today. It is the oldest, in my estimation, it is the oldest scholarship club in the nation. It's older than United Way Scholarship Club. Some of the presidents were Sampson Taylor, William Walton, Fred Middleton, Esther M. Lee, Richard J., and today the president is Sam Burgess. J.F. Goodwin still exists to this day, and in 2025, the organization will become 90 years old. Thank you very much.